Let's get started. So, welcome everybody to our session, Trust but Verify, Unlock Innovation while retaining control with the Microsoft Power Platform. Are you working in business, facing challenges like exploding data, inefficient processes, or teams that are not working streamlined together? Or are you a professional developer who fears the shadow IT created by your motivated business colleagues? I can't see you nodding or raising your hand right now, but I'm sure you answered at least some of my aspects of my questions with a yes. And that's why we talk about this topic here in the Austrian session, because we see there is a lot of interest in our market around that topic. We want to say thank you for your time and participation, because no doubt Ignite is a great event. But in times like this and in a 100% virtual setup, it's hard to take yourself out of daily business and daily life for 1 or 2 days for learning and getting some new inspirations. I'm Martina Zalla, and I lead the business group in Austria for Dynamics 365 and for Power Platform. And I'm super excited to be here today together with my colleague Andreas Aschauer, who is a technical specialist for low-code platforms. This session is about courage. On one hand, business needs courage to dive deeper into IT topics. How many of the business people out there have heard themselves say in the past, "Oh, that's nothing for me, that's too technical"? In this session, you will learn why it makes sense to step out of your comfort zone. And of course, on the other hand, IT needs a lot of courage to let the business play with their toys. The concept behind this is citizen development. I'm sure that a lot of you out there have already heard about it. And that's great, because citizen development is really fundamental for this digital transformation. It's about connecting the dots and using the best of two worlds. In my daily work, the Power Platform is a matter very close to my heart. I have now more than 20 years experience in business applications, and I have a business background, so I'm not a technical person. I worked at customer side, also at a partner in SAP ecosystem. And over the last years, I had the chance to round this journey up at Microsoft, and I learned to see topics through different and very much more technical eyes. As a project lead in the past for CRM implementations, I think I could have saved a lot of lifetime if I had much more technical understanding and something like a low-code platform. When I think of the biggest project in my career, I'm sure that it would have saved us in the end 30% time and a lot of effort and complexity. So this is why I'm here today, bringing the aspect of a business decision maker into this conversation. We know from studies and research like Gartner, IDC, you name them, that low-code development is on the rise. 65% of enterprise application development will be in the low-code category by 2024. And if you think about it, this makes totally sense, because not every use case can be covered by standard software. Every company is different and has different needs and expectations. There is a number on this slide which I think is very impressive. It says 500 million new apps will be built in the next 5 years. This is more than all apps built in the last 40 years. But organizations struggle to find technical talent. And here comes the concept of citizen development into the game. It's not that I'm saying business is the new developer. Check, problem saved. The business is still the expert for the process, and IT is expert for technology, and this will not change fundamentally. But there is a need for a new way of work and collaboration to really unlock innovation. Experts working streamlined together has so much more power. Technology makes knowledge workers much more productive if also the human component, means the collaboration, is well organized. We know from research that in the digital era, divergences between departments within a company is the biggest productivity killer. And here we are in the middle of our topic. Citizen development must be well organized and managed to work as an engine for innovation. So let's go one step deeper and have a look how this is working in practice. For the next 15 minutes, we will take you on a journey, the journey of Martina and Andrew. Imagine me as a head of finance department and Andreas as an IT service manager in our company. Our company, for this example, is a global leader in discrete manufacturing with headquarters in Austria. We offer very customized solutions to our customers, and that's why our sales orders are very complex and they contain of a lot of customized items. Many people are involved in the sales order process. Some are creating items, some are responsible for the pricing. The process itself is not very formalized. Our finance solution is SAP. Of course, we also use Microsoft 365, D365 for marketing and customer insights, and in our subsidiaries, we also use the D365 for finance, but in our headquarters, the finance solution is SAP. Personally, as a head of finance, I'm an Excel fan since ever. And as head of finance, I'm also always very interested in best practices. And recently, I got very inspired by Microsoft CEO Amy Hood, who talked at a conference about Microsoft's finance transformation and how they are using their own tools. In the last couple of years, I also learned more and more about Power BI. And as I'm excited to learn more about it, I joined in February the Power Platform Bootcamp because I heard that our local user group for Power BI was organizing this. In the bootcamp, I not only heard about Power BI, there was also a great session about RPA, robotic process automation. As a person responsible for finance, topics like cost and time saving, increasing productivity, process automation, all this resonated very well with me. And in our case here now, my biggest challenge is that from point of view as a head of finance responsible for cost efficiency, we need a much more structured approach for approving our sales orders. So I thought I could try to set up an automated flow for this. So I went into my Excel where I have an overview of our sales orders, and I experienced that I can set up an approval process right away from here. I discovered that I can use what I already have and create an approval process via email. For you in the audience, especially if you are a technical person, a professional developer, for example, this is of course not rocket science. But for me as a business person, this is really an amazing finding. I also discovered that I can build on my own very easily additional constraints. For example, for bigger sales orders with a higher amount, I can start a more formal approval process via email. And for the other ones, we can do a quick one, for example, via Teams. And this is very important and a very important finding because for the users in the end, everything looks very familiar because they use what they anyway use every day. That is their mail client and Microsoft Teams. We do not need additional solutions and we do not need a lot of training effort. And in the process, while developing this, it was very important for me that I didn't need to transcript my needs into technical speech. I could try on my own what is possible, and I can realize a quick win without involving my colleagues in IT who are always very busy. Coming back to our sales orders, it's that for the complex ones, I would need additional information. And so I discovered something very interesting. I discovered that I can get SAP data, like the line items I need for this approval process, also right from here. The next step was that I thought what I did here could be super valuable also for other teams within our company. So I was super excited to learn that I can share my solution with other people and teams. And they were super inspired. But at the same time, I started to have the feeling that this will be maybe getting complex if the solution grows and is getting bigger. And on the other hand, I started to feel a little bit concerned if especially the use of the SAP connector is something that is safe and secure. Because as a corporation, we need to stay compliant. And there are a lot of rules and regulations how to handle our internal data. So I was a little bit worried that I maybe ruined something. And that's why I decided to meet Andrew and talk with him about the solution I developed.
So while Martina was busy creating her solution and her stuff for finance, I, as an IT service manager, started my day. We introduced a three-step governance approach across our whole Power Platform, because what we want to do from IT is we want to really empower people like Martina to build their solutions. We don't want to be the bottleneck, keeping them from innovating, from improving their processes with this great tool called the Power Platform. So I'm starting out my day working along our three-step governance approach for Power Platform. The first thing I am starting my day with is I'm stepping into a phase we call monitor. I really want to see what is coming in. I know Martina was busy. A lot of her peers maybe also have been busy in our platform. And for a first step to get a really good feeling about what is coming into our platform and where we need to turn our attention to, I start with monitoring what is coming in. I will later then decide what to govern out of these solutions. And then I will show you how we also empower Martina and her peers to really go forward and develop her skills. So I'm kicking it off with some monitoring. I'm stepping right into my Power Platform Governance Toolkit. The Power Platform Governance Toolkit is a completely free solution that runs on top of Microsoft's Power Platform. And as you can see here, I'm jumping in from the very top here. I'm trying to turn my attention to the Power Platform Governance Toolkit dashboard. At a glance, on a single pane of glass, this view shows me everything I need to know to monitor and what is coming in and to know where to turn my attention to. So I'm kicking off my day with really, sorry, one too far. I'm kicking off my day with trying to see what is coming in. So in the center slide here, I can really see which components are coming in and the volume of components that is coming in. So I see the customer engagement environment is pretty busy with apps and flows coming in. This is something I need to monitor. On the left and right, I can see who is actually creating stuff. Martina has to be here somewhere, but also Andreas was very, very busy. He might be a candidate to engage as a Power Platform champ. And on the bottom here, I can really see what is coming in terms of apps, of flows that people create. And I see that that Martina was busy creating some flows that I want to investigate further. So right here from that dashboard, I'm jumping in to that single piece, that single flow that Martina created for her solution to really see what is going on. Where did she create it in the Contoso environment? Might have to look at this. And on the right side, I can really see what connections is she using. And on the very top, you can see our governance process that had not been started yet for Martina's solution. So this will be something we will start later together with her to validate what is in there, to learn what she is doing, why she is using the connections she is using, and to also identify if there are maybe risks associated with the solution, if there are systems associated with the solution that hold data that is sensitive. So now I took the first step. I monitored what is coming in terms of quantity, and I stepped in and I stumbled across Martina's solution, and I started to investigate in terms of quality, what she is doing. I decided we might need to introduce a little governance for her solution, not just a little governance, but the right amount of governance. So what I'm going to do as the next is I will jump into my overview dashboard in the Power Platform Governance Toolkit, because I identified that Martina is using one of our custom connectors namely the SAP connector, that we customized to work with our special flavor of SAP, with our internal SAP system. So this is something I want to monitor and see what is going on there. So right from the dashboard here, I start off and drilling into the custom connectors. So I can see the SAP connectors that we created ourselves are being used actively on the right here. Let's drill into the very specific flow right from the dashboard. Now we are in that specific flow that Martina created. Again, this just saves me time. So from a very high level, I zoomed down into the one thing that I need to look at, into the one thing I need to govern. No need to switch systems to click around. So I can see at a glance on the right that she's using really that SAP connector and others. And what I'm doing here, again, right from the dashboard, I'm contacting the maker of this component, of this flow, which in this case is Martina. I'm not aware of this actually at this point. I don't need to be aware, because when I hit contact here, Power Platform Governance Toolkit automatically reaches out to the right person who created this. So now I monitored what is coming in. I got a good feeling that I turned my attention to the right bits and pieces, but we need to introduce governance around Martina's solution. So I'm gonna get some virtual FaceTime with her and see what is up. We will go into the Developer Compliance Center, which is part of the Power Platform Governance Toolkit. And we sit down together virtually, of course, and go through this form to see, really assess what this solution is and take it under our wings, so to say. So we jump into the Developer Compliance Center, and as you can see in the center here, the solution itself, the governance center itself, already gave me some green dots, because we know who is responsible. We have a maker, we know there is a description, but right now I'm working with Martina to get a little meta information about what is going on in this solution. What are the business justifications? What is the risk maybe associated if this solution does not work? Are there any dependencies? Yes, she seems to depend on Excel, which is fine for finance. So when something breaks down here, I know who to turn to from an IT perspective, because we didn't create the solution, we just support it in terms of governance, and I know what impact could be done to the department if this solution doesn't work. So now Martina and me sat together, we got a good feeling about what is going on, we got a good feeling about the solution. I think Martina also now has a good feeling where to get support, and also a good feeling about using that line of business data from the SAP system, because we as an IT department are aware that the solution exists. We are not the single point of contact. We are not bogged down by fulfilling every requirement that comes out of our teams, but they can do it themselves under our umbrella governance strategy. So I jump back in my Developer Compliance Center, and as is the day for me, I still have at least 8 other items from Martina's co-workers coming in, all with red dots, of course, for various reasons. So in our governance strategy, we defined that each component needs to have an owner, a description, a justification. All of these incoming components here seem to have missed one of these or more of these requirements and are marked red for me. So at a glance, again, I don't need to turn my attention elsewhere. I can go through these items, contact the people, find out what is going on, introduce governance or not. It saves me time and gives me a good feeling to know what is going on. So I went through my monitoring, I went through my daily governance work. What we also provide for our users to close the circle, for our citizen developers to really enable a great experience for them, is we have nurturing components. So we really want to enable our makers, our business departments to grow, to learn, to build their own solutions, to get better and share knowledge. So one example that the Power Platform Governance Toolkit helps us do this is just a simple welcoming email, an onboarding process. Whenever a new maker is detected on our environments, we send out a curated email that includes links to self-paced learning, to internal resources, to communities, to really foster a community and make our citizen developers connect together without the need to always go through IT to turn to for knowledge. So we really try to nurture a community here. Another example, what we are providing is a centralized template catalog, because we know in our company, we still have a lot of departmental silos. So what we do is we want to highlight solutions created by others for our citizen makers to see, to be featured, to download, to learn hands-on. So you can see we have a great freight management app, we have a windmill manager. So these are really apps that people created in our company that we want to share broadly so that other makers can learn from these good examples. Wrapping it all up, our governance approach that you just saw is threefold. We started with the monitoring, coming in at the very top of our Power Platform and see from a quantitative perspective how much is coming in, turning into what is coming in. We continued with the governance phase. I turned my attention, or my attention was turned to Martina's solution because of certain governance restrictions that we impose on our makers, and to govern the solution, while still keeping a nurture phase and enabling a great and safe experience for our makers to learn, to explore, to create in Microsoft Power Platform, and ultimately freeing IT of mundane, repetitive tasks, while still enabling our makers to create solutions that help them innovate along their processes and ultimately innovate for our company and help our company move along. Okay, Martina, let's hear the takeaway.
Yes, let's summarize what you heard from us now in this session. The concept of citizen development, the way how we see it, that you can create the most value in your company with, is to empower people who are close to the problem. So the business people to solve their problems with quick wins, while IT is focused on the high productivity and the complex solutions. We really want to encourage you to explore the Center of Excellence Starter Kit, as you saw it in the presentation of Andreas. And we would like to encourage you to evolve and learn along the way. Of course, it's always needed to have a big picture in mind when you start a new project, and it should fit into your strategy. But it's great to start here with small wins and then try to scale and get more value out of it. And last but not least, communities are really key to benefit from best practices. And this can be communities within your organization. So it's great to build a community for your Power Platform users so that they can learn from each other and also benefit from their activities in the different departments. And of course, there are outside on the market, there are communities you can use, you can join, user groups you can use to learn from best practices. So after this session, if you want to connect with us, you of course can find us on LinkedIn. And if you are interested in community activities, I can recommend you, for example, the Power Platform Club. We founded these sessions last year in July, and we have it now monthly, every third Thursday, once a month. It's a 90-minute Teams meeting. And there we share local customer stories and partners, and we bring the community together, give them a platform for exchange, and we want to show what is already happening with the Power Platform on the market so that you can take away these best practices and learn from them. I've put it in the link here. We will put it also afterwards in the chat. And with that, we wish you a great rest of the day, and we wish you to enjoy Ignite further. Bye. If you have, we still have time to answer some questions in the chat. We will do it via the chat. Yeah.
So all the questions that are in the chat, we will try to answer directly in the chat. So I think we still have 5 minutes left. So I picked out 2 or 3 questions that came up a couple of times. So I think we could answer at least those 2 or 3 questions that came up a couple of times. All the others, feel free to push them in the chat. We will review them, publish them, and all the rest will be answered directly in the chat. Before we leave, one question that came up multiple times: is the governance toolkit different from the COE template? And is this the COE starter kit or something additional? What you saw now is what we published, what Microsoft published as the Microsoft Center of Excellence Toolkit for Governance. We will put the link in the chat also for your reference later, but this is the COE starter kits, the COE toolkits, the COE governance toolkit that we are using. One more question about the need to license. To do a governance strategy like this, do we need Dynamics licenses? No. Quick answer. Everything you saw can be done with Power Platform licenses. There is no need to have a special Dynamics application license. Okay, so for all the other questions, we will answer them in the chat later. Feel free to publish them and have a great rest of Ignite. And I hope you are empowered by our governance demonstration.